Hey, welcome back to Mocktails with Marina. I'm your host, Marina, and today is going to be a different kind of episode. Today I want to talk about what it feels like to move through things with uncertainty. I think this is going to apply in a lot of different situations, so you might hear me talking a little bit theoretical, a little bit about the experience I have coaching people, but also I'm going to get raw and real with you and tell you what it's been like over the first 6 months of this business, the first 6 months of other businesses that I've operated, and what we're seeing in our clients who are just getting started, and what the difference is between those who feel like they're taking it all by storm and they've got this, they can move through things and they're making progress, versus the people who seem to be kind of stuck in somewhat of a fearful discovery phase and don't quite know how to move forward. So first, I want to start with 3 main points of something that I've learned from my clients, especially in the non-alc and kava space. But, when it comes to starting a business that you have to put tens of thousands of dollars into, as opposed to, I'm just doing something hobbyist on the side that I throw a couple hundred at here and there. Like, there's a big energetic difference there, right? So what I'm specifically talking about is the people who have a dream that costs at least 10 grand, right? We're talking, that's on the low end, but we're talking, if you're starting a kava bar, you need at least 60 G. If you're starting a CPG, that's anywhere from 35 to 60 Gs. It kind of just depends on the process and what ingredients you're kind of working with and your timelines and all that jazz. But point of the story is we're not playing with monopoly money here. And that means that depending on where you grew up, what your background is, what kind of financial education you had received in life, that, let's just say 30 grand, since that kind of helps in multiple ways and it's easy math, right? That 30 grand for some people can feel like, oh, no big deal. I've already invested 30 grand once or twice in life before. This shouldn't be an issue. Versus someone who's never invested that money, or maybe they have and they didn't get such a great payoff the first time. Right? So there's this camp of people who are ready to go and they don't have these mindset blocks. And then there's other people who need to heal from their trauma and learn, okay, what can I do to trust where this money is going? So I want to point out 3 things here. Number 1, new or aspiring business owners, they just don't always seem to understand the importance of collaboration and coaching. What does this have to do with money? You'll see in a second. The thing is, they're always paranoid that everyone's out to get them and that everything is a scam. So therefore, they don't want to find a mentor. They don't want to find a coach. They don't want to have this box where they just don't know if they can trust the box or not. They've seen things. They've been hurt before. So, and we know there's a lot of coaches out there that are garbage. I'll be honest. I'm a big fan of spending my personal money on learning. I have taken so many different courses, especially since after college, being able to just be like, oh, I can just spend $400 to learn how to make a cool YouTube channel, or, oh, I can spend another, grand over here to learn a lot more about this program that I use every day to make things better. Cool. Of course, I love those. They give me the fire and inspiration to move forward in the day. I love them. And all of that being said, I have been through some really stupid ones. I remember one time when I was getting serious about opening my first coaching business, there was one coach I had that lit up. Oh my God, she was so bad. She poisoned my mind and would say things like, for example, don't bother showing up on camera without makeup on or people won't take you serious. Those of you who've been in my audience have seen me. I never wear makeup ever at all anymore. And that's just one silly example of the magnitude of advice that she had given that was not helpful. And it put me in a situation where I was like, dude, I don't want to be learning from people on the internet right now. I'll just go learn for myself. And I put myself in a very toxic workplace environment to learn things the hard way. That had I found the right coach at the right time to teach me those things ahead of time, not only would that have not cost me my health for years, that wouldn't have cost me time, But I also could have just been so much farther along in where I am. Now, all of this to say, I don't regret things in life. I'm just telling you the information I learned about my life. And when I found my current coach, I found her back in 2021, somewhere around there. And she really changed a lot for me. Now, granted, I still had a lot of things I had to learn, and one major component of that was I kept buying that coach's tiny little like free stuff, but I had a hard time investing in the big programs that I actually really needed in order to make things work. And of course, once again, second time in life, I had to go down another road of learning things the hard way in a workplace. And that wasn't mine. That was not my own business. So 2 rounds of this in a row. Now, this is all in my 20s, right? So makes sense, good timing. But I had had enough of it. I said, if I do it a third time, I'm just crazy, right? You do it once, oops, okay, you're just learning things. You do it twice, okay, maybe you could have seen that one coming, but maybe there was a level of nuance you couldn't see. But if it happens a third time, God forbid, I would lose my bananas. I would lose all my nuts. I'd lose all the things going on in my head, and I don't even know where I would go from there, right? So all of that being said, my husband and I started this business in this year. We started it January 1st, technically. And what's interesting about this time around is we decided to go all in on our coach. And that was one of the biggest things. And yeah, to this point, let's see, it's July 15th as of this recording. I think we've sent her probably about $7,000 this year, just about. Yeah, that sounds about right. And let me tell you how big of a difference it has made in our lives. And every time I feel a stalling in our business, usually that means it's because I made it to the end of my to-do list and I forgot to continue to study with my coach along the way to continue that momentum. So the point of that story is I was always that type A person back in high school that would, just get everything done, turn it in, do all the things, yay, go outside and play recess. It was really important to me to get things off of my to-do list so I could just chill. Like I've always been that way. And high school and college teaches you and rewards your dopamine system, right? Like you're like, yay, you got it done. You can go party. You can go do whatever you want. That doesn't work at all as an entrepreneur. In fact, when I think about my college experience, it upsets me that it got me more prepared for being someone else's employee than an actual entrepreneur. But this is where those lessons, hopefully I can pass these on to you right now. If you're constantly looking for like satisfaction through just work that you do, like you are the type of person that needs a to-do list, and once that to-do list is done, then you're done for the day and you feel good. Cool. Make a note of that. Again, not always super helpful if you don't have great project management. Now, if you're the type of person who knows you're working on something big, that's going to take you years to really fully realize, you know that to-do list will never be done before you fall asleep. And in fact, you're going to be lucky if it's done before you die. If you're the type of person that I described before, but you want to be an entrepreneur, which is the second type of person I described, that means that you're going to have to go through a serious personality change. I say this lovingly. I'm not saying you have to change your whole personality, like you're no longer you, but there is definitely a dark night of the soul that's going to occur because, again, I feel like I laid it out there where it's like, if you are the kind of person who needs a to-do list to be done so you can fall asleep, you're not going to fall asleep until you die as an entrepreneur. So there has to be some sort of give and take there. There has to be some sort of breakup in your mental programming to make this work. So, okay, what does that mean? Well, I have to give up the fact that my to-do list is just going to consistently be rolling. Now, if you are the type of person that enjoys to put your to-do list on a piece of paper, that means that you're going to be driven mad and you need to find new tools that are going to help you roll that to-do list in a way that makes you feel excited, like you're making progress, not like, oh, I wish I could have gotten more done in the day. This is something that I've done through the use of a tool called Notion, and I will put that Notion link in the description of this episode. But the way that I can do some project management throughout that software, and I can change and manipulate due dates to be very like, oh, well, it kind of just needs to be done sometime during this week, for example. And then it kind of helps me prioritize, okay, well, if this needs to be done generally this week, but this other thing needs to be done right now, it helps me move things around and adjust, because I'm sure life happens where, you think you're like, okay, I've got this plan for today, and then you randomly get a flat tire, or maybe, you're trying to make toast and then you run out of bread and you're like, oh my God, well, now I got to make a different breakfast, and that just threw off the whole day, right? Let's get a little bit more serious about business. Maybe there was you're going along, everything's great, your budget's great, and you're like, holy crap, I forgot that there was a $2,000 bill due and there's only $20 in my account, and I also have to run payroll in a couple days. Those kinds of situations can come up because you never know what random thing might need to get paid, right? There's all these things that you don't know until you've already done it all, right? So it's kind of a chicken before the egg situation. I want you to consider that if I just mentioned that new and aspiring business owners are paranoid and they assume everyone's out to get them and everything is a scam, you can see how all of this can be such a toxic mindset that builds up into a very destructive pattern. Meanwhile, established business owners understand the power of collaboration and always ask, how can we help each other? This is so fundamentally different because, if these new and aspiring business owners don't understand the importance of collaboration or having a coach and they think everything's a scam, they're not going to be open to interesting opportunities that can occur. So for example, there have been many meetings that I'm just meeting people in the industry all around just to see hey, can I either help you, or can maybe you have something that one of my clients might need, right? So I always ask, I always start out these meetings and these meeting requests and I say, hey, I'm Marina, I'm a consultant and educator in the industry, and I would just love to have a meeting to see, to learn more about you and your business and see how we can help each other. Because the thing is, when you're in business, making a sale is helping someone. And then they're helping you by paying you for that sale. So you are helping each other. It's not about, oh, what can I do to be the best in town over that competition? I'm not staring at other businesses, right? I'm staring at all the people in the audience and saying, hey, who out here needs help? Just raise your hand and I will come to you. And even if I don't have a package, or I don't know how these things are going to work yet, I'm going to figure it out. And that leads me to my next point, which is that new and aspiring business owners tend to cancel meetings that they don't feel prepared to show up for, whereas established business owners just show up. And yeah, they might apologize if they feel underprepared, but it just doesn't even matter because they recognize that the brilliance is always inside of themselves. They just have to show up. You don't have to be perfect to make things work. You don't have to know everything. You just have to show up and ask, how can we help each other? What can I do to help bridge your gap? What do you need? Now, I'm going to tell you, after you tell me what you need, I'm going to tell you what I need in order to be able to help you. But I'm also going to be like, hey, just because I need this, that doesn't mean it needs to come from you. What other funding sources exist? Right? What other fun, creative solutions are there out there to make this work for all of us? So it's, again, we're not getting stuck in that paranoia, scammy, icky, cringy feeling. We're in this open, okay, all right, we're here now. This is our reality. What are we going to do about it? And, being in that meeting, even if you don't know, at least you're not alone. And I don't know about you, but people always surprise me in positive ways. And what I mean by that is, even if we feel like we get scared in our own little, oh man, I don't know what value I bring to the table. If we just show up and say, hey, here's what I know I have. What do you have? And you just leave it up to destiny to see if you're compatible. Because at the end of the day, if you have a box of exactly what the person that you're talking to needs, cool, done. If you have a box of something that people don't need, then why are you even trying to convince them that they need it in the first place? Like, that's not, to me, I don't know. I know that that's some people's sales tactics and all the things. It's not mine. And I've found that you can operate in business by using a moral compass, to be honest. So all of that being said, there's a lot of fear in a lot of new or aspiring business owner mindset that can really be toxic to your business and the people that you want to help. One other point I want to kind of do a little comparison here for comes down to cost and the ability to invest. So for example, new and aspiring business owners think that they'll save money by solving everything themselves, but that actually ends up taking more time. And as us established business owners understand, time is way more valuable than money. Money comes and goes. You only have a finite amount of time on planet Earth. You want to make the most of it. Established business owners understand the power of investing in solutions, and they know the power. They know the return on investment is going to be inevitable. So I know it can be so scary sometimes when you're like, I have $1,200 worth of bills due tomorrow, but I also need this coaching, or I need this educational tool or resource that costs $500 and I only have $500 in my account. What do I do? I'll tell you what I'd do. I would honestly get an educational resource and figure out another funding method or make another sale to make that other $1,200 back, but I would invest in that $500. I've learned my lesson. Anytime that I've been scarce and I didn't, guess what happens? So I said there was $1,200 worth of bills and I only had $500. Okay, well, I'm going to be $700 short anyways. So might as well have invested in the education to learn how to get myself out of the hole to make the $1,200 plus an extra $500 to cover the cost of that, you know? It seems more obvious when we're in these moments where you're listening to this podcast right now and you're like, yeah, Marina, that makes sense. But then right when this episode is over and we're out of our cozy little safe bubble of listening and we're into the crazy world of actually doing, putting our blood, sweat, and tears into things, our fears can pop up and make us forget everything that we just listened to. Even if you just listen to this and then 5 minutes go by. It's happened to me myself. My husband's such a blessing. He helps me anytime that I get a little stuck. And I'm being transparent with you to show you that everybody has something to learn, to come back from, to get better from. Everybody has a coach. Everyone I've ever met. And even if they don't call them a coach, they might call them a mentor. They may be referred to as like, maybe I'm in training and this is the person I'm learning from. There's so many different ways that people phrase it, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. We all need someone to learn from. And if we're constantly learning in the hard knock school of life, which, like I said, I took 2 full rounds of that before I really started taking some of my mentor's advice seriously. It's not that it's the worst thing in the world. You can always, as long as you have faith, you can always get back up. So it's okay, even if you have more than 2 go arounds. You know, we all have plenty. But if you want to stop prolonging the pain of the process and you're just tired of it, just tired. I'm done being tired. I want to be soft. I don't want to hustle. I want to be in a space that feels comfortable. And not comfortable without growth, but comfort without, like, growth without the gut-wrenching pain that makes you feel like you have been knocked out. Instead, you want to feel empowered when something comes up. You're like, oh, new puzzle to solve. Here we go. I was wondering what I was going to do today. I didn't have anything on my to-do list, right? Because when you get past fear and you start building your systems, you can literally make a business that you had been enslaved to. Like, you can turn that business into something that you only have to work 10 hours a week at, even if it's a brick and mortar. Like, if you have the right team, the right systems, the right price points, you have everything put together because you listen to your mentors to put it together. Now you have all this time, maybe you can mentor someone else. Sit on a beach, do whatever you want. I saw this really fun term the other day, downshifter. A downshifter is a person transitioning toward a more balanced lifestyle, one who prioritizes simplicity and values meaningful relationships, personal fulfillment, and well-being over the pursuit of material wealth and conforming to societal expectations of success. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, yes. Anytime you hear me say functional flow, functional mixology, functional methods of any kind, this is what I'm always referring to. Because it's so easy. I'm telling you, it's so easy to make any business work for 6 months. You can put your heart and soul into something and burn out. It's unsustainable. So how do you make something work for you long term? That's the real challenge. That's the thing that if you want to get out of that fear cycle, you gotta learn how to take a step back, how to trust people. And the very best place to start is in a coach or a mentor, because eventually you're gonna need to hire people or outsource things. So start by investing in yourself, something you know you love, something you know is worthy, right? And then from there you can learn, okay, was this a good investment or not? You're starting to get an intuition. You can start to feel these things more. Then it becomes easier to attract the right people in your life to help you run your business. Who else here wants to downshift? Who else here wants to do so responsibly while still running a business that serves people and pays the bills? I'm sure that's some of you, right? This is the first step. Really understanding that time and money are different variables than we may have originally thought. Now, I'm going to dive a lot deeper into this in an upcoming podcast episode I have. I'm going to be a guest interviewee over in a very fun podcast by this wonderful woman who works on Wall Street. And she talks a lot about financial mindset and how this is something that's way too taboo. We need to talk a lot more about in order to heal from it. Because anything that you keep hidden deep, you're going to have these subconscious self-sabotaging behaviors. And that's so icky, right? And here's one thing I want to point out. When I was going back and forth talking about new and aspiring business owners versus established, I want to mention that some established business owners have been in business for less time than some of the new/aspiring business owners that I'm describing. Well, you might very logically ask me, then why would I call them new if they're not as new as the established? And this is where I'm talking about mindset. Because the hard truth is that many people romanticize leaving their 9-to-5s and starting their own business, but they keep not showing up, not doing the necessary work, and quite frankly, aren't putting their energy where they should if they actually want to achieve success. And the thing is, they're not dumb. Like I said, they're just simply subconsciously self-sabotaging because they aren't ready for the revenue. There are mindset blocks that made them feel unworthy, unready, scared, defeated before they ever even begun. Right? That is why most successful established entrepreneurs all have coaches and mentors. That's who pulled them from the new and aspiring phase over into the established one. Now, let's kind of dive deeper into what are the mindset blocks that make people feel unworthy, unready, scared, or defeated before they ever even begin. There's a million bajillion stories on this topic, so I'm going to spend the rest of this podcast kind of giving you my case study so that you can really take a look at yourself and see if any of this resonates with you. And even if this doesn't, but you still do feel unready, scared, defeated, or blocked or unworthy in any way, well, at least now you have more information that you know why. Okay, well, for example, I don't relate to Marina's story, but I at least know it's not that, so I can look in other places in my life. Whatever is happening today in your life or in your business's life, just in general, it's always because of the actions of our past selves. Like, yeah, we can leave somewhat of our past in our past, but we also have to deal with the consequences of that in order to move forward, right? And if you're not dealing with the consequences of the past, you're going to get stuck in this feedback loop. Like I said, I got stuck in the feedback loop twice, 2 times in a row. I'd made a business, done all the things, crazy life events happened, and, luckily it steered me towards this, which is really what feels like my true calling, and everything else was kind of dress rehearsal and me gathering the skills to be here. But at the time, that's not what I felt. At the time, I was scared of what I was doing. And it took me to understand, okay, why am I scared? Oh, well, the first time, and by first time, I mean my first business was as an event producer and performer in Vegas and beyond. It stopped because of COVID. And then it turned out I didn't want to go back because I wanted nothing to do with alcohol. And it made me feel gross. So that was one of those examples where it was like, it turns out that I don't actually feel unworthy, unready, or scared, or defeated. It's that I need to go learn more about, is there such thing as a non-alc circus? Is there such thing as that? So I went and explored. And during that time of the first part of exploration is when I had created a coaching program, because I was like, well, I don't want to perform, but I can still help people who want to do this professionally. So I was coaching performers and event producers to learn how to, book a tour. How do you, create an event from start to finish? How do you do all these things? How do you get event sponsors? How do you get mentioned in the media? How do you flow? And then after that, when I had felt myself being more and more disconnected from that, I was like, okay, once again, round 2, why do I feel unworthy, unready, scared, or defeated in moving forward with this, that coaching business on functional flow of the nightlife entertainment? Well, again, I made that business while I was on the active search for what non-alc is. And, now it's so clear to me, and I giggle and I smile as I'm telling this story. But past me, oh God, she had no idea. She was confused, overworked, working for people to try to figure out, maybe there's something else I don't know. What is it that I don't know? Oh, it turns out it took 2 laps around the entrepreneurial block to realize I didn't want to make my money from alcohol in any way, shape, or form. Period. Even if I wasn't involved, even if I was teaching other people how to make events, it still made me feel yucky. I didn't like it. And now that we're in this business, this is my third, the modern mocktail, helping people in the non-alc and kava spaces, I don't feel any of those things. And if I do for a tiny moment because of some process not working out, I have a coach that I talk to. But let's talk about one very specific thing that got me there. Because, I'm talking about alcohol a lot, but here's the main thing. Nobody really talks about the guilt that you feel for choosing to walk away from a toxic work environment or career path that no longer serves you. You feel the pressure of societal expectations, the fear of being labeled as a quitter. You feel the weight of the uncertainty about what comes next. But I want this to be your reminder that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what no longer serves you, even if you don't know what you're walking towards. I promise you, even if you don't have a backup income plan, quitting a toxic work environment is always worth it, even if it doesn't feel that way. So I felt guilt leaving the last work environment I was in because I had worked so hard to create a team. I was a coach and a mentor to multiple members of my team and my community. I was in an environment outside of the toxic part of my work where everything was flowing in all the ways that my previous businesses I felt hadn't. But the thing is, I didn't want to flow in someone else's business long term. And so I had worked towards trying to become part owner. And that's the toxicity of that work environment. It wouldn't, things were promised that never came to fruition. And so during this time, during this moment, I I'd started to develop many health issues that I'd never had before. I've always been a very healthy person. I was born very blessed with no diseases, no complications. I've never even broken a bone. And then out of nowhere, with all of the stress that I dealt with, I had vertigo and I had a miscarriage. And I couldn't flourish in that environment, even though I felt like I was helping others. Like, I myself couldn't flourish. And the thing is, like, I was always looking for an escape plan, because again, I always wanted to be like, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. It's always who I've been. And I had just retreated into that job because the 2 go-arounds had left me feeling unworthy, unready, scared, defeated. So what was it that I had to learn in this toxic work environment in order to finally get to the place where I could establish a business and be an established business owner instead of a newer, aspiring one? The thing is, I realized I needed to jump off that cliff, even though I had no savings. I had no income. Like, my husband and I literally had just gotten married last year, at the end of last year. So not only did we not have savings, we actually had a little bit of debt from that. Still paying off my student loans, still had all these other things, right? Going into 2024, one of the wildest years I've ever seen in my life. Not knowing inflation, the economy, I have every reason and every right to be scared in this business. But do you want to know what? I'm not. I actually feel less scared. I feel less stress, even though the last job I was in definitely paid the bills. Paid them really well. I was good. We could have been, all of our wedding debt could have been paid off if we stayed there. Student loans would have probably been already gone. Things were good there from the matrix standpoint. But I'm telling you, I felt so horrible every day I woke up, especially after that miscarriage. And there was no sign that anything was getting better. So even with all of that unknowing, my husband totally backed me up. I woke up one day and I was like, I have to make a letter of resignation. I can't do this anymore. And he just said, okay. And I said, and I want to start a business. And he's like, okay. He's the best. I'm so blessed. And even though we didn't have a business plan, we started before we started a business plan. And even though I had said that I wanted to make this whole coaching business, I was going to do this anyway. I had talked about it a year before we had started this, like while I was actively in that other job. But the other job drained me so bad, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I literally, by the time we'd get off work, we'd get home, eat a burrito, and crash. Like, there was no time to think or be or do anything. Constantly feeling like inadequate, unable, like, because someone else did not believe in building systems in the same way that we did. That fundamental thing where, like I mentioned in the very beginning, an established business owner should be asking you, what can I do to help you? How can we help each other? Right? I was working for someone who was stuck in a new/aspiring business owner mindset, even though his business has been established for years. And that is a weight to finally realize. But in the moment, I didn't realize that, right? This is someone who had created a seemingly successful brick and mortar and had been in business years, multiple employees, all the things. But yet, this business owner suffered from so many mental blocks that it infected everyone around. And the moment we left, somehow everything felt way less stressful. So I want to leave you with this thought that oftentimes we chase things for security. We chase things because we think it's the right, responsible, smart choice that people will be proud of, that what we're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, I want to tell you what is risky. It's risky to become redundant. It's risky to live paycheck to paycheck. It's risky not creating your own income. It's risky navigating company politics to thrive. It's risky waiting until you're 65 to own your own time. I think it's a lot more risky to work in a 9-to-5 that you don't own, that isn't yours at all in any way, shape, or form, that you just show up to get a paycheck. You're lucky if that works out for you. My dad was born in 1955. He worked for a union, a Boilermaker union in Chicago for many years, many decades. He's at the point now where, luckily, he was a part of a union that his pension was very, protected, right? Yet, I know that is the only story, literally one of the only very positive stories I know in that direction, because there are multiple other where, for example, I have other family members who they worked their whole lives for a company, and then the company found some reason to fire them a year before retirement, even though they'd spent decades there and they'd built up an entire retirement fund that got destroyed, all because of some dumb little office politic thing. Some newbie wanted her job. And so she spread slanderous rumors to get her fired 1 year before her retirement. So now she had to go jump to another job, work another 5-10 years just to get a retirement, even though she should have been retired by now. I hear this story a lot more than not, and especially in today's market. And, a lot of the boomers that are retiring now, like my dad, he's an older one, but his pension is good, but the Boilermakers after that, the general Social Security in the United States, we already know we've been hearing that it's gonna run out. My parents are safe, they're old enough, but beyond that, I don't think I'm gonna receive any of that, nor am I banking on my government to take care of me, because quite frankly, I don't think that that's what they're there for. And most entrepreneurs understand where I'm coming from with that, so I'm not going to dive too much deeper. I just want to leave you with this truly final thought here. If you want to make your dream come true, whether you're in the discovery phase or you have an established business but you feel like you're a slave to it, you still feel fear, you still feel caught up, you feel unworthy, you get stuck constantly doing things yourself instead of outsourcing them, I want you to send me an email, hello@marinamars.com. I want you to tell me, first off, where in the non-elk/kava space are you? Are you a lounge or bar owner or operator? Are you a bottle shop owner or operator? Are you a CPG owner or operator? Maybe you have an e-commerce store, or maybe you're just in the discovery phase. That's cool. Just let me know what you're doing and tell me what's currently holding you back. I will, I promise you, reply with not only some free resources, I'm also giving out a limited amount of free strategy sessions to anybody who listens to this episode and says, hey, I heard from your podcast, I'm a bottle shop opener or owner or whatever, and this is the problem I'm having. Okay, tell me and I will give you a free 30-minute strategy session, normally something I charge $100 per half hour. I want to talk to you and I want to see how I can help you make it to the next stage. And if my free advice is enough to get you to the next stage, then I will feel so satisfied. And if it turns out that diving deeper is something that will absolutely help you, then I will be honored to help you and guide you through the next part of your journey. That being said, take a listen to the episode right before this one if you haven't already, called What is Functional Mixology? And I kind of give you a little bit of history through, the history of our company, the short but sweet history so far of creating effortless operations, Bula Boss, and the functional mixology method. And that way you can learn a little bit more about the context of what we do and, what we offer. If you are already very familiar with these things, trust that this strategy session is going to go so much deeper then, because I won't have to spend time explaining to you all of the other resources that we already do currently have for you. So thank you so much for listening and being here. This is a very special episode to me, and one of the first in a long time that I've been, I haven't planned this one. I woke up this morning with this thought that I just really wanted to share with you. So share your thoughts with me. hello@marinamars.com. As always, if you need anything, just let me know.